welcome to the program of Ventura County Philatelic Society presentation for February. In observance of February being Black History Month, tonight's program will take a look at African American subjects on United States postage stamps. Some of you know that I'm a big NBA basketball fan. I've got NBA TV, I got it complete with baller vision, court vision, mascot mode, which is my favorite. And it also, I watch games every day, I watch the highlights, and even now, even a few podcasts, because the trade deadline's coming up. So, that being said, every February, NBA celebrates Black History Month. Last year when I saw the players coming out with their Black History warm-ups on, I thought this was a sign that I needed to start organizing all the Black History stamps that I have in my collection. So last year, you may remember, I told you guys I had found this list here of all African American subjects on United States postage stamps. And all the way last year when I talked about it, they were up to 2013. You can see that over the years that the United States Postal Service has done a very good job of recognizing individuals' events and accomplishments and contributions that have shaped the Black American legacy. This year when I looked up on the Google list, I was really happy to see that we got a brand new list of Black subjects on United States postage stamps. And with this year's issue of Ernest J Gaines, we'll make 195 total Black American subjects on United States postage stamps. Out of these 195 stamps, 46 of them are designated as Black Heritage stamps. These are the two most recent. Edmona Lewis, she was a world-renowned sculptor, and she was both African American and Native American. She worked in the neoclassical style, and she was known to incorporate some of the themes reflecting her heritage into her sculptures. One of Edmona Lewis's earlier works from which she gained much attention is this bust of Robert Gould Shaw. Shaw was the Union Army leader of the all-black Massachusetts 54th Regiment. Lewis, an activist of the abolitionist movement, even had the opportunity to see the 54th Regiment on the streets of Boston where she lived. Ernest J. Gaines, his family had been sharecroppers from the time of the Emancipation Proclamation. Probably best known for the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman and A Lesson Before Dying. His novels, set in the rural South of his childhood, developed themes of race, community, and culture, illuminating the dignity present in every individual, especially of those being oppressed. I forgot to put on my Black History t-shirt here. Okay. From August 2013 till now, till 2023 with Ernest J. Gaines, there have been an additional 36 stamps issued in that time period. And what was curious to me is to see which ones I missed, and I had actually missed 5. One of the ones I missed is this one here, the Snowy Day, 4 designs. And I go, Snowy Day? What is that Snowy Day? Here it is.
What am I missing?
Okay, these stamps here are drawings by author, illustrator Ezra Jack Keats. The Snowy Day makes the list because this widely acclaimed children's book was one of the first books to feature multicultural characters, a breakthrough for children's literature in 1962. Came rather late, I'd say. Okay, ironically, the next stamp that has recently found its way into my collection is this one here. And this is the Smithsonian Building in Washington, D.C. that is the Natural Museum of African American History and Culture. How exciting it would be for me to find the Booker T. Washington exhibit, because as a philatelist, I know that he was the first one to have the distinction of becoming on a United States postage stamp. And this stamp, issued in 1940, is the high value of the American Educator set of the famous American issue. So why did the United States Postal Service choose him? Who was Booker T. Washington? Booker T. Washington was born a slave, and by virtue of the Emancipation Proclamation, he was made free. Over the next several years, Washington emerged as the leader of the black community. As a young man, he was selected to be the first leader of the Tuskegee Institute, a school in Alabama that taught its students to become teachers of farming and the trades, so that the next generation could gain a basic education and the skills necessary to gain social acceptance by becoming responsible and reliable American citizens, end quote. Washington believed that the best way forward towards social equality was to concentrate on building up the social structures inside of segregated societies. He had encouraged the accumulation of wealth to gain economic power, an advocate of American business and entrepreneurship, and was one of the founders of the National Negro Business League. He built a national network within the black community, gaining support of black ministers, educators, and businessmen. He also attracted philanthropic and political support to his cause. This allowed him to elevate equality for all American movement on a grand scale. Washington felt that total civil rights would come over time, but was realistic about Jim Crow that ruled the day in the South. For the time being, he continued to promote industrial education. Washington felt the best way forward for the majority of blacks people was to acquire the mechanical and industrial skills that were needed, especially in the South. However, this approach was criticized by some other civil rights leaders of the day, like W.E.B. Du Bois. So shown here in Black Heritage number 15. He favored a more active and progressive approach. Du Bois was to Booker T. Washington on the issue of equality, as Frederick Douglass was to Abraham Lincoln on the issue of slavery. Frederick Douglass, pictured here, felt that Lincoln didn't go far enough and fast enough, much like Du Bois feeling that Washington's methods were not aggressive enough, advocating for more immediate action. Moving on to the first American woman on a United States postage stamp, Harriet Tubman, Black Heritage Series number 1.
Would you like to make a new name to mark your freedom? Harriet Tubman.
I do think that's a great movie if you haven't had a chance to see it.
That was about the Underground Railroad.
Yeah. Sports. Presently, there have been a total of 14 African American athletes featured on 18 different issues of U.S. postage stamps. Jackie Robinson appears on 3 stamps. Jesse Owens on 2 designs. Wilt Chamberlain on 2. This display shows baseball stamps that pay tribute to the Negro Leagues. Here we see Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, and commemorative pair of Rube Foster. Over here on the left, we see how the sub-theme is laid out and presented in my Black History book. Here, my Black History book. Anybody's welcome to look at that. Being a topical collector, I love to develop sub-themes. I have found developing these sub-themes to be one of the most enjoyable parts of my stamp collecting. Here we have a sub-theme display showing stamps depicting the March on Washington in 1963 as part of the Civil Rights Movement, well remembered for the Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" speech. This slide shows Brown versus Board of Education, which led to the desegregation of public schools in 1954. Pictured here are stamps of Thurgood Marshall, who was the attorney who successfully argued the case for the Supreme Court, and a painting by Romare Bearden called The Lamp. We also find more of Bearden's artwork in this series here. His work was meant to foster unity. A resident of Harlem, Bearden was one of the founders of the Harlem Art Group. He also played a role among black artists in representing the Civil Rights Movement. These stamps are by African American artists, are from to form a More Perfect Union series. One thing that I found very interesting while researching this presentation is that the house in Harlem where Bearden lived with his parents as a teenager was a regular meeting place for some of the major figures of the Harlem Renaissance. Here we see Voices of Harlem stamps commemorating 4 members of the Harlem Renaissance. Of the 195 subjects, at least 75 issues celebrate art, music, literature, and film themes. The subcategory Music Themes has a majority of subjects with 44. This slide shows music icons Marvin Gaye and Jimi Hendrix, along with music legends Ray Charles, Billie Holiday, and W.C. Handy. W.C. Handy, father of the blues, was the first black musician to be featured. Our final theme tonight, Kwanzaa, has to date 9 designs devoted to this African American holiday tradition. However, 2 of these very colorful designs have been issued in 4 different denominations. On the left, we see how it is possible to use Google Slide designs to enhance stamp displays in your collection. Thank you for watching. It has been my pleasure to be able to share with you a small part of this important American legacy. I had fun putting it together, and I have found through stamp collecting a greater appreciation for Black history, and I hope you have too.